You know, these videos aren't for kids. If you aren't at least 18 or are easily offended, you should probably click off. We here at Dual Wield accept no responsibility for your children. So if you are an adult who sat your kids down to watch our videos, you should be ashamed. Anyway, back to the video.
Are you ready?
Now please welcome the hosts of Dual Wield Wednesday, Vegeta Almighty and Jin Drax. Take it away, guys.
Greetings, my loyal subjects. It is I, the Prince of All Saiyans, Vegeta Almighty, back for more 31 days of Halloween. And as always, for Dual Wield Wednesdays, I am joined by my illustrious co-host, Jin Drax. Say hello to the nice people at home.
Heyo!
So today, what I thought we would do is I wanted to go over, this is the part 2, basically, of our Pokemon horror-related two-parter. And this time we're going to be kind of going in about generally, like, creepy things that we found in relation to Pokemon. And I'm going to let Jin start. I've got 10 things here, 5 of which are things that I found in Pokemon itself. And the other 5 are just, some general Pokemon fan projects that I would recommend that you check out.
Gotcha. So with mine, what I'm doing mostly is I focused a lot on the creepiest Pokédex entries that I could find for that, and then some interesting finds in the Pokemon manga. Specifically, because to me there wasn't a whole lot of creepy stuff throughout the games. There was a few little moments throughout the games, and in the Pokemon anime, there was a few moments that were kind of on the creepier side, but not very many. But looking through the Pokedex entries, excuse me, sorry. Looking through the Pokedex entries throughout the games, and then looking through the manga, oh my god, there's just a lot. So what we're going to get started with is, first one is one of Vegeta's favorite ghost-type Pokemon, because of course we're going to start with a ghost, and that would be Shedinja. So Pokedex entry is, Shedinja's hard body doesn't move, not even a twitch. In fact, its body appears to be merely a hollow shell. It is believed that this Pokemon will steal the spirit of anyone peering into its hollow body from its back. So basically, it's just like it traps your spirit if you just happen to look over at its back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's crazy. And even the way that it evolves is like slightly creepy. So like the only way to actually get a Shedinja is to evolve Ninkata into Ninjask and have an empty space in your party and Shedinja will just appear.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that Dex entry. Here's one, another one that is an unexpected one for you probably, and that would be Eevee's Pokedex entry.
Really?
The entry goes, its genes are easily influenced by its surroundings. Even its face starts to look like that of its trainer.
Oh, that's a little unnerving.
Yeah, how's that Vaporeon working for you now?
Well, did you know, in terms of male, human, and Pokemon, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just showing how unstable Eevee's genetic makeup really is, and that its face starts looking like that of its trainer is just Ugh. That's disgusting. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Carvana. Um, Carvana is like just an insanely strong fish. Can you imagine being in the middle of the sea and then seeing something like a Carvana? Just the way it looks is creepy. Um, and then it has enough power in its jaws to rip out boat hulls. So it's gonna sink you. And then there's other horrifying Pokemon in the deep, and just oh
That's. Ugh.
yeah. You imagine just getting surrounded by a school of Carvana and just be like, "Well, this is it. This
It's
is
a
how we
wrap for
go."
me. I'm over. I'm goodbye. Excuse me. Pardon me.
And then the last one of the Pokédex entries. Of course, I'm not going to cover the Drifloon one because everybody knows about Drifloon and its children stealing abilities. But one of my favorites personally is the Dusclops Pokemon entry. Where Dusclops' body is completely hollow. There is nothing at all inside. It is said that its body is like a black hole. This Pokemon will absorb anything into its body, but nothing will ever come back out. So imagine just accidentally getting absorbed by your favorite Dusclops, just trying to give it a hug because it's so fucking adorable. And you just die immediately.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, um, very very interesting Pokedex entries. There's so many like disturbing or creepy Pokedex entries. Um, Speaking of child stealers, Hypno, look at his.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it's
You've got some like Cubone where, they just wear their dead mother's skull.
yeah,
That's depressing as fuck.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the Pokedex entries you could go on for hours, but I figured that would just be a nice little starting point, jumping off point to get us talking about our favorite creepy things in Pokemon. So I'm actually going to start this off with talking about the cliche everyone knows, everyone's already talked about it before. Um, Lavender Town.
Oh,
Just
of course.
just Lavender Town in general. There will, in my opinion, never be a more severe case of tonal whiplash in a video game I think I'll ever play until, or like Lavender Town. You know, it's it's just so out of left field. It's so unlike anything else in the game that when you hit Lavender Town, first of all, that music, and then the whole Lavender Town syndrome rumor. It just that song hits you like a ton of bricks when you first hear it. And then
Oh, yeah.
imagine a child, your first time thinking the ghost Pokemon, Ghastly, Gengar, and Haunter are the three goofballs you saw in the Pokemon anime, right? Now imagine
Right.
that same child surprise, about 5, 6 years old, running into the Lavender Tower ghost for the first time, telling you to get out in a creepy voice, and your Pokemon being too scared to do anything. Now imagine that child's underwear after it's done with it, when it changes its clothes, how it was at one point a white color, and how now it is a dark brown and yellow color, because they defecated and urinated in their pants. That was me. Maybe not exactly that, but um, Lavender Town was such a severe tonal whiplash for me that I had to stop right there when I was playing it for the first time, and I had to wait and come back during the daytime to play that game, to play that part of the game.
See, for me, it was a little bit different. Like, it didn't necessarily scare me. Like, I went into it with the mentality of it being like a goofy game, and it didn't really phase me that much. But what it did make me think about, and I remember actually asking my parents this when I was younger, which of course they had no idea because parents didn't care about Pokemon.
No.
Um, but for me, it was weird because whenever a Pokemon fainted in battle, it always fainted. It never actually like died.
Yeah, it taught you death at a
And
young age.
yeah, it taught you about death. And what's weirder is death of a Pokemon, which is again something we'll get more into when we talk about the manga. But in the games, it's usually kind of like in the games in the anime, it's like a taboo for them to die. Like you kind of know that they're there because people eat seafood. Well, what's in the sea? If all animals are Pokemon, then people eat Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like in the anime, you'll see like birds flying that aren't Pokemon. You'll see like fish swimming occasionally, I believe, that aren't Pokemon. So uh, I think there might be a mixture, but even then, like it's weird to think about. But yeah, it definitely teaches you about death in Pokemon for the first time. You're just like, whoa, I didn't even know they could die.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely another thing about it that kind of bothered me. So, um, that was kind of my thing. Lavender Town, obviously being the whole, you know, stereotypical setting for all creepypastas and stuff like that,
Oh, of
um,
course.
has merit and has a good reason for that. And I just like Lavender Town was definitely something that has stuck with me all my years and something that will always probably stick with me. And it's great. It's a fantastic. Now as an adult who can appreciate the scarier aspects of things or creepy aspects of things, um, I really appreciate uh, Lavender Town for what it did and for what it can be.
Right.
Do you want to hop into one of your manga facts, or do you want me to kind of go through my list first?
Yeah, I can hop into one of the manga facts. So, speaking of killing in Pokemon and actual death, um, Giovanni, in any form that he is put in, you can tell he is an actual sadistic bad guy. Like, there is no real redeeming qualities for Giovanni in anything that I have seen. He's a bastard, really.
Yeah.
And one of the ways in the manga that he proves that he's a bastard is he went out of his way to show zero regard for the lives of some Magmar. He had his cloister freeze several Magmar in ice, cut them into pieces, and shatter them in a really disrespectful manner. And it was like he was intentionally trying to be harsh because he wasn't performing for an audience or anything like that. Like nobody was watching. This is just something that he did,
Just getting a sick kicks out of it.
pretty much. And just like it was crazy to me the first time I read that. Like it was just I couldn't have even imagined Pokemon doing stuff like that. And then I think about it, and it's like the manga seems more like the real world applications of Pokemon versus like a children's fantasy type deal.
Oh
Because
yeah.
in the games, they talk about the wars and things like that, but you don't really like think about that because they don't dwell on the wars and whatnot. Um,
I would love a
Everything.
M-rated nitty gritty like exploration of the Pokemon Wars. I would love that.
Oh my
Unironically.
God, yes. I would buy that in a heartbeat. They would have to make it marketed not towards children, like clearly state this is not a game for children.
Yeah.
But I don't ever see Nintendo doing that,
Oh, of
to be
course not.
honest.
Of course not.
Like I would love it, don't get me wrong, and I think a lot of fans out there might love it too, but at the same time, I think you would kind of look at the franchise differently once you saw Jigglypuff get cut in half.
My thing is, why introduce that in the first place? Then, like,
Right.
give us what we want. Let us see the ultimate weapon. Anyway,
Arceus Divine Judgment just kills everything.
well, no, so that's another thing that kind of is interesting about the Pokemon universe. The whole AZ and this Floette and all that stuff. Um, During that big war, he had some weapon or whatever that apparently stopped the war or something like that, and that's why that's why we have ORS and like Mega Evolutions and stuff. Mega Evolutions take place in an alternate timeline. The weapons split the timeline, basically, and
Gotcha.
that's why we have the Mega Evolution universe and the non-Mega Evolution universe.
That
At
makes
least
sense.
that's
Why you have like Mega Evolutions and Z moves and all the other stuff.
yeah. But yeah, I would love a game based on that whole war, but we'll like you said, we'll never get it. So it's wishful
It's
thinking at this point.
unfortunate. Unless that's like a fan made game or something like that. But even
Fans?
then, the Pokemon licensing would, the
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon company would shut it the hell down so
Yeah, they'll
quick.
shut it down so fast. Speaking of which, I need to finish playing Pokemon Uranium. Speaking of which, yeah. So is that the end of the that particular fact?
Well, I got one more, and it was something that was actually really surprising. It's actually surprising how many Pokemon trainers are actually real bastards in the anime. And another one, or I'm sorry, yeah, the manga rather. Another one unexpectedly being the champion of the Elite Four, Lance. And it's composed of dangerous Pokemon trainers. Like they're really good at what they do, but basically Lance became so disgusted with the way that people had mistreated Pokemon that he basically just wants to wipe everyone out and leave only the worthy to start everything over to get a new balance with Pokemon. And in doing this, he uses his Dragonair's Hyper Beam to incinerate Vermilion City, kill a whole bunch of innocent people, and he also uses his Dragonite to lead a whole army of Dragonair and Aerodactyl to attack and kill people in Kanto. So it's like he essentially was just trying. He was a mass genocide leader throughout the manga. Like it's insane
That
how
sounds
different
about
he
right.
is from like the games and the anime and whatnot.
That sounds about right. The manga, from what I understand, is a pretty messed up place. Um, and Team Rocket, as a result, are much worse.
Oh yeah, I would imagine like Team Rocket is not the joke that they are in the anime or the game. Like they're legitimate, scary, threatening.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we get to see in full graphic detail the unaliving of Cubone's mother in the manga. I haven't even read it. I need to go back and read it myself, but
yeah, I need to go back and read it. Like it's insane.
yeah. But going back into my list of things here, I'm gonna try to speed this up because like I said, I got a lot here. Something I wanted to talk about here, and I added another one into it, was Mewtwo's creation in Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, Yellow. The journal entries that you can find in the Pokemon Mansion tell the story of his creation. And there's like all kinds of lore around the mansion and just how like how you can tell that the mansion was at one point used for some nefarious purposes, and um, it's highly implied that this is where the experimentation on cloning Mew took place. And as you're coming across these journal entries in the Cinnabar mansion, um, you're like Guyana, South America. Diary, July 5th, Guyana, South America. A new Pokemon was discovered deep in the jungle. July 10th, we christened this newly discovered Pokemon Mew. February 6th, Mew gave birth. We named the newborn Mewtwo. September 1st, Mewtwo is far too powerful. We have failed to curb its vicious tendencies. This all as you're just stumbling through this abandoned, rundown, destroyed mansion. Seeing some machines in the background that you don't understand, and there are scientists lingering about, and it's just like the whole mystery around and the foreshadowing of Mewtwo is just, I think it's a bit unnerving. Not so much scary or like just a tiny bit creepy. And then you look at Ditto. Like Ditto is one of the few places you can find Ditto is in Cinnabar Mansion.
Right.
And you know, what is the move that Ditto can use? Transform. What's the only other Pokemon that can use Transform outside of Metronome? Mew. So the theory goes that Dittos are just a failed clone of Mew.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and that's like, I think one of the only other places you can find Ditto is in Cerulean Cave, which is where you find Mewtwo. So, I think that's that's an interesting theory about Ditto, and that just kind of goes back into it's just the mystery around Cinnabar and all of its nefarious things. You know, especially with Blaine having a big part to play in that whole thing, and I've seen interpretations, the fan interpretations, where people expound upon it, saying that the fire that destroyed the mansion in the first place was caused by Blaine by order of Mr. Fuji to kind of cover up what they did there. And, it's just a whole, because I mean you see Blaine, he wears a lab coat, and it's a whole like mystery around it that I think is very interesting and a little bit creepy. But the other thing I wanted to talk about originally for this slot was something fairly recent that I found a bit unnerving, and that was the Treasures of Ruin for Scarlet and Violet and the Black Stakes. I think the payoff kind of retroactively diminished some of the creep factor of this. But it's these weird glowing black stakes, and if you're someone like me who didn't bother with the schooling with the classes beforehand, and you just stumbled across these in the wild, and then your camera focuses in on it, a text box pops up, and the music completely disappears, and all you get is ambience. And it's just like, it's very unnerving, and it leads to this like implication of something dark. Now the Treasures of Ruin themselves having their, you know, with their lore, it is dark and it is dangerous, but it's nowhere near as foreboding as the finding of the black stakes made it out to be. But Scarlet and Violet is a much more unnerving game in a lot of places, I've noticed. What with Area Zero. But I just thought that was something that, for me, I really appreciated them having in Scarlet and Violet, was the black stakes and the kind of creep factor with that, and then Area Zero as a whole as well. So, any thoughts on that?
Actually, I haven't done the Black Stakes personally, so I haven't actually like seen it. I still have to do that because I'm bad. But I agree
I'm
with you on
sure
Area
you've
Zero.
come
Like,
across one of them before and
I
taken
might
another
have.
route. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still can't believe you haven't caught them yet.
Yeah, I know. I think I have like one of the legendaries,
Anyway,
like
moving forward.
Fujian. Yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, I know. Um, but yeah, no, it is a little bit of more of a creepier game, and then when you look at each of the legendaries and see their origins and stuff like that, their dex entries, yeah, they're absolutely. I still think Mewtwo is probably one of the creepiest, but they're up there, man.
I
As
don't know,
far as
man.
like creepy
They've
legendaries.
been killing it the last couple games. Legends Arceus had a lot of like creepy ass moments in it. The Spirit Tomb quest, the Dark Ride quest, just like Legends Arceus in general had a very creepy and more sinister tone to it, and I loved it. But you'll have to play it for yourself to truly experience it. Uh,
Yeah, I gotta get back, or I gotta get that game again.
oh yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
'Cause
Oh,
it's fantastic.
the Kitakami um, Blood Moon Ursaluna mission was a bit creepy, but also I enjoyed it because of the music. But regardless, moving on
I still gotta get that too.
to my next thing. It's funny that you mentioned that about Mewtwo because we're going to circle back to something else, but I wanted to talk about another very early example of creepy things in Pokemon, and that is the unknown, just in general, but like especially their events, like in Crystal. And I think they might have even had them in Gold and Silver, but I think they were more expanded upon in Crystal. Um, just some of to this day the most, and it's fitting once you know the lore of Unknown, but some of the most like mysterious parts of the Pokemon franchise as a whole. Um, just the whole like the puzzle thing, and you fall into the ruins, and um, hold on, let's see here. I'm gonna pull up
If I
that.
remember correctly, that's how you found the legendary dogs in Crystal, right?
No, no, not at all.
Or no, not at all. What was that? What was it you dropped in and got or found? Because I swear
Unknown.
it
That's how
was.
you got Unknown. You dropped in to get the Unknown in the ruins of Alph. Now you drop
That's
down.
right.
Now you drop down in the burned tower to unlock the roaming dogs. Um, but there's there was an addition in Crystal where they add um, these rooms, these hidden rooms to the puzzle areas, um, where they have these like you unlock additional stuff. Um, I think it unlocks additional items like for if you solve these puzzles. So like at the back of the room, there's a phrase written in Unknown that tells you
Mhm.
what to do to solve the puzzle. Like for example, the first puzzle with the Kabutops or the Kabuto, um, it has the word escape written on the back, and if you use an escape rope there, you'll access this room that it's just like it's just all one word, like it's all one like tile set, and it says spells out a message for you, written in Unknown, and it's very creepy because it's got the Runes of Alpha theme playing. It's the first one's "Our words shall remain here for the ages." The second one in the with the Aerodactyl puzzle, it says light. So if you use flash, you'll go into another one that says, thus we shall erect a Pokemon statue outside. Third one, picture of Ho-Oh. It says Ho-Ho, Ho-Oh in the back walls. So you have to enter with Ho-Oh as the first member of your party. And it says, we humans must learn to walk in harmony with them. And the last one is one with Ammonite, and it says water. Simply re-enter with a water stone in your backpack. And it says, they possess great insight and refuse the outside world. So it's just very cryptic, very creepy. And of course, there's the whole like unknown font and the ruins of Alph music. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, there's a radio signal in the ruins of Alph. I think you can only listen to it in the ruins of Alph, and it's very creepy. It's like unknown noises with like it's like the unknown cry mixed with other various random noises. There's no real explanation for it. It's just a creepy, cryptic thing that they add to the eeriness of it, and I think that's something that goes underappreciated with Unknown in general. So I don't know if you have any experience of dealing with the whole Unknown and it just being kind of unnerving and creepy.
A little bit, yeah. I remember as a kid solving the picture puzzles and whatnot, but I never had like the guides or anything like that, and I never figured out what the secret stuff was. So I didn't know all the extra stuff that you were talking about. I definitely never had Ho-Oh, so I wouldn't have found that one anyway.
Yeah, I ended up figuring those out when I was a kid. I found a couple of them. I don't think I figured out all of them.
Yeah, I didn't figure out any of them, but yeah, I do remember going in and doing the Ruins of Alpha, and I was really excited too because I went and saw Pokemon, 3, the movie in theaters, and it did a whole bunch of the stuff with the Unknown, and then I was profoundly disappointed with how they were in game, actually.
Yeah, they were so uber powerful in the movie, but in game,
and then in game,
awful.
yeah, it's like it has some of the crappiest stats, and then it only knows one move ever, and the only thing to do is catch all 26 of them for the alphabet, and then shiny variations, which again didn't really know shinies were a thing when I was a kid.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, there were because Unknown's letters were based on their IVs and EVs and shit like that. So some were shiny locked, just by the nature of what they were. Like I think you could only get a couple of them shiny.
Yeah, but yeah, the Ruins of Alpha music is some of my favorite in the game, to be honest. In that game,
yeah, it's very creepy. But moving on, I'm going to kind of lump these last two together. Well, it's more of a one is a specific thing, and the other one is just a combination of things surrounding one specific and individual character. So the first thing I want to talk about is it's funny you talk about Mewtwo being the creepiest when you have Giratina and Giratina's fucking jump scare from Pokemon Platinum.
Fair enough.
The only Pokemon to ever jump scare you.
Oh man, I forgot about. How could I forget about Giratina? He's actually one of my favorite legendary.
Right. So that whole and then the
literal Pokemon
world.
Satan.
Yeah, then the whole distortion world and all that, and Giratina's great. But flipping that on it, I just want to talk about that real quick and just how creepy that was. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. And then we're going to completely flip the coin on that one and go on to the other side of that and talk about his daddy, Arceus. And just everything about him for the most part, but a couple of specific things I wanted to talk about. First of which being the Azure flute and just the sound it makes, and just the event originally to find him in the games is kind of like unnerving. What with the music change and all that, again, just a little unnerving. But I also wanted to talk about Beta Arceus and just how weird his beta sprite looks, and how it's kind of like this almost eldritch like thing, and it leads credence to there's theories out there saying that that's his true form, what he really looks like, or something like that. So that's a weird thing about it. It's a bit creepy and unnerving. And then the most direct, like, creepy thing probably has to do with the Shinjo ruins in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now, I don't know if you've seen this event or heard about it. Have you?
I have not, and I'm looking at Beta Arceus right now, and oh my god,
Yeah, no, right?
that is disturbingly bad.
Yeah, oh yeah. So there's a Shinjo. The Shinjo ruins is a very unique event. It has to. It's when you're playing Heart Gold Soul Silver and you're there, you'll see that you're outside of the map, so not a part of Kanto or Johto. Um, it's unknown exactly where it is in relation to Sinnoh and Mount Coronet. It's just far north of Blackthorn City. It's north of Johto. So it's a place that you get teleported to if you go through a mysterious entry point in the ruins of Alph,
hmm
which again lead credence to the unknown's relation to Arceus, because those are his thousand arms or whatever. Like, the unknown are basically the hands of God. If you really want to,
Oh,
yeah, they're his direct hands, basically.
so
Um,
basically, in Pokemon 3, the movie, Entei and that little girl were touched by God.
yeah, basically. Of course, this was before that was established that he was even a thing. Um,
Retroactively looking at it,
yeah, yeah. So again, you can take you can, like, talk to a hiker in a Zabra and get teleported back. But if you have, if you try to enter the Ruins Research Center, the Ruins of Alph, with Arceus as your walking Pokemon, the lead archaeologist bumps into the player on his way out and is surprised that the player has an Arceus. He then asks the player to come with him to the ruins and investigate a mystery. The scene cuts, and the player, the lead archaeologist, and Arceus have just entered basement floor 1 of the ruins of Alph. The lead archaeologist comments that something feels different this time to all the other times he has been in the ruins, and that he feels like the pictures on the walls are staring at him. The screen then fades to black. The player and Arceus are teleported to the inside of the Sinjo ruins. Upon stepping outside, a hiker notices the player and comments that it is strange for someone so young to be interested in the ruins. He then talks about the ruins, show a blend of the cultures of Sinnoh and Johto. Uh, the hiker then invites the player inside of the cabin rather than the snow and walks off towards the cabin. Inside the cabin, Cynthia is sitting at the table and tells the player how the Sinjo ruins remind her of Sinnoh. She also mentions that the people of Sinnoh migrated here and built a temple that remind them of Sinnoh. She mentions that she feels a strong power coming from the player's Pokeball and believes it to be one of the Pokemon of myth. Cynthia then exits the cabin and walks to the ruined temple. She stands in front of the mystery stage and will only allow the player to pass if the Pokemon in the party is a single Arceus. If the player has other Pokemon, she recommends that they use the PC in the cabin to deposit them in the Pokemon storage system. When the player has only a single Arceus in the party, Cynthia explains that which circle explains which circle represents which member of the Pokemon of Myth, and that the central circle represents Arceus. She then tells the player to choose one of these 3 legendary Pokemon. Once a Pokemon is chosen, Arceus moves to its circle in the center and is surrounded by Unknown. Several images of outer space appear, followed by an image of Arceus' head. Then a montage of real-world images appears on the screen behind an image of Arceus' overworld sprite standing on the mystery stage, with only the design of the stage showing by eliminating the lines. This then cuts an image of Arceus' head, followed by a photo of the Earth. Then the mystery stage's design appears, and an egg appears on top of it. A crack appears in the egg, the screen fades to black. The screen then fades to black into the overworld, and a mysterious round object, colored depending on the chosen Pokemon, is levitating above Arceus' head. This round object then swirls around and goes next to the player. The round object takes the shape of the chosen Pokemon, and the player obtains it. This Pokemon will either be Dialga, Palkia, or Giratina at level 1, equipped with its respected orb. Suddenly, then the player is teleported back to the ruins of Alph, and the archaeologist is shocked to see they disappeared right after in front of him. It concludes that the combined power of Arceus and the Unknown teleported the player to the Sinjoh ruins, and then ponders how Arceus, Unknown, and the ruins of Alph are connected. So, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's a creepy ass it's a creepy fucking event, and it's really weird. And you can actually do this event twice.
You can get like Giratina and one of the other 2.
Yeah, but you have to use a different Arceus each time. You can either use an event Arceus or the one caught in the Hall of Origin. And then you'll repeat the event for the second one. So you can't do it a third, unfortunately. But that's how you can get those. That's how you can get those guys in the game. You would just have to. You could probably if you could trade it to a friend and have them catch the other one, and if you had another DS. And there's a way to get them all, but it's overly complicated. But yeah, so that whole event is very interesting, very unnerving. Ooh, excuse me. And that is why I love it so much, because it's so abnormal and just not something you would expect.
I might have to get a DS just to do that, because that sounds interesting.
It's a very cool event. Now, moving on to some of the fan-related things. I want to quickly talk about a couple things. First, my recommendation for those out there wanting to check out some creepy fan projects, some fan games of Pokemon. I recommend checking out Pokemon Nightmare Invasion. It is not a traditional Pokemon game. However, it is Pokemon like sprite art style, like survival horror game. You play as a character who basically his only means of defending himself is a gun, and it's a long. I'm not gonna get too much into it. Just go check it out. It's pretty cool. Next, I want to talk about Lost Silver, more traditional Pokemon creepypasta. Check it out. It's a Pokemon game. It's a creepypasta game. It's just a neat little experience. I recommend going and checking that out. I'm not going to spoil too much for that. Just go check it out if you haven't seen it. Another thing I want to talk about is there's a White Hand / Buried Alive creepypasta. I don't know if there's an actual ROM out for this, but I know there are videos of it. It's a supposed original intended boss for the top of Lavender Tower. Is like a zombie, basically. And if you lose that fight, it's game over. You have to, your save files deleted because Red dies or whatever. Clearly not real, but it's still a unique little thing. I recommend looking into that. If there is no ROM for it, at least check out the video on it. And last but not least, for my recommendations on things to try out or look up yourself, is the Pokemon Blazing Emerald ROM hack. Now, by itself, it's just a Pokemon game, and it's a pretty good one at that. But I recommend checking out that game specifically for the Darkrai event. Um, just go check out that for the Darkrai event. It's really good. It's actually pretty creepy. So check that out. And the last thing I really wanted to talk about here today was Hypno's Lullaby. Easily one of the most upsetting and disturbing things I think I've probably ever come across in relations to Pokemon, because of the original song behind it. It's just really unnerving. I'm just gonna read the lyrics, but then I'm gonna for off screen for you. I'm gonna play the song. But it's really disturbing, and I know grown men who have had nightmares after listening to this song.
Really?
Yeah, myself included, because the song itself was just very unnerving. So the lyrics are: "Come, little children, come with me. Safe and happy you will be. Away from your homes, now let us run. With Hypno, you'll have so much fun. Oh, little children, please don't cry. Hypno wouldn't hurt a fly. Be free, be free, be free to play. Come down in my cave with me to stay. Oh, little children, please don't squirm. Those ropes, I know, will hold you firm. Hypno tells you this is true, but sadly, Hypno lied to you. Oh, little children, you mustn't leave. Your families for you will grieve. Their minds will unravel at the seams, allowing me to haunt their dreams. But surely all of you must know that it is time for you to go. Oh, little children, you weren't clever. Now you shall stay with me forever."
Jesus.
Yeah. Very, gross.
Yeah, no, Hypno's just out there, dude.
Yeah. This can't be right. It says this composer of the song is Junichi Masuda. That can't be right.
Why?
Because, what did he... Hang on. As I'm pretty sure he's the guy who composed the songs for the Pokemon games. Let's see. Yeah. He did the songs for Pokemon. Let's see. That can't be right. That can't be right. Oh, no, I think it's because the music behind it was a version of Lavender Town. Okay, so never mind. Anyway, yeah, that thing was very creepy. I recommend you all go look up the original song and in broad daylight. But yeah, no,
In broad daylight.
that was just a list of some of the things about Pokemon that I find creepy, unnerving, scary, whatever, and that I thoroughly enjoy, and I wanted to share with you all. I know it was a bit of a rambly episode, and it was a bit of a more of a talking at you kind of thing. But I think this is something that to kind of get us in the mood and to like, let's all go check out all those creepy things, you know. And I really wish people would stop texting my phone. But anyway, that's all the time I have today. Jen, do you have anything you want to say before we outro out of here?
No, we pretty much covered it, man. Again, that's just to kind of get in the creepy mood, and it's always nice to learn more about especially this time of year, to learn more about the creepy stuff in games that you don't normally see or normally think about. So I might actually go and check out a few of these myself, just to kind of see when I'm getting in that little bit of a mood. So, again, guys, we hope you enjoyed it very much. Thank you again for sticking around with us for Halloween.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, I guess there's no time like the present to say your outro.
Drink your water, don't be a dick, and have a nice day.
You heard the man.